All right, today's lesson is algebraic proofs, a lot of equation solving, and justifying why you did what you did to solve the equation. Your first property is your addition property of equality, and it states that if A equals B, then A plus C equals B plus C. And if you notice, guys, we're just adding C to both sides of that equation there. That's your addition property of equality. Subtraction property, if A equals B, then A minus C equals B minus C. And then once again, this guy, we're subtracting C from both sides of the equation. Multiplication property, if A equals B, then A times C equals B times C. And then once again, if you notice, we're just multiplying C on both sides of the equation. Division property, if A equals B, then A divided by C equals B divided by C. In this case, we're dividing C on both sides of the equation. Distributive property, if A times B plus C, then A times B plus C has to equal, and we're just going to distribute that A to both pieces. So that would come out to be AB plus AC. Substitution property, if A equals B, then A may be replaced by B in any expression or equation. And I'll talk more about this one once we get into some more of the notes here. But that is your substitution property. Just kind of remember the word replace, replace, replace. Reflexive property, for any real number, A equals A. Reflexive property, same on both sides. And we'll talk more about this one once we get into the segment proofs and the angle proofs. Symmetric property, if A equals B, then I can say that B equals A. This one we just kind of flip around. We just flip, all right? So for this one, maybe just memorize this one as flip. And once again, we'll talk more about this guy when we get into the segment and angle proofs. Transitive property, if A equals B and B equals C, then I can say that A equals C. And once again, guys, I will talk more about this property once we get into angles and segment proofs. We're not going to use these bottom three so much for our algebraic proofs. All right, says using properties of equality. Properties of equality can be used to justify steps in solving an equation. So here's what we're going to do our proofs, guys. We're going to have two sides, a left side and a right side, and then we'll talk about how to solve these things. For a two-column proof, a common format is used to organize a proof. Left side, you want to list the statements. And on the right side, you need to list the reasons. What can we use for your reasons? We can use properties. We can use definitions. We can use postulates. Or we could use theorems. All right, and we'll talk a lot about these when we get into the angle and segment proofs. All right, first example, here we go. You're given this equation. Our job is to prove that x is equal to 7. So here's all the statements. Here's all the reasons. So how this works is you got to figure out, how did I get from step 1 to step 2? Well, if I check it out, they just added 1 to both sides. So my reason to get from step 1 to step 2, it is the addition property. And I'm just going to abbreviate add property. That stands for addition property. To get from step 2 to step 3, well, they had to divide 4 on both sides. So that would be my division property. Once again, just abbreviate, and we're good enough there. Next page. All right, so here's what we're given. Here's what we have to prove. First step, to get from step 1 to step 2, it looks like they subtracted 2 on both sides. Subtract 2, that's your subtraction property. From line 2 to 3, they had to multiply both sides by -6. That is your multiplication property. And the next comes out to be -18. Number 3. First step at number 1, they had to distribute that -9 to both pieces. That is your distributive property. From line 2 to 3, they subtracted 27 on both sides. So that would be your subtraction property. Last step from 3 to 4, they divided both sides by -18, division property. Number 4. All right, what did they do first here? Let's check it out. It looks like they subtracted this 6x over to that side right there. And sure enough, 8x minus 6x is 2x. So your first step was subtraction property. From line 2 to 3, they added the 17 over to the left-hand side. So that's your addition property. From line 3 to 4, they divided both sides by 2. And tricky one. This one, they just flipped. 12 equals x, the same thing as saying x equals 12. That is your symmetric property. Whenever you flip, that is just your symmetric property. Number 5. Big guy. Here's our statement. Here's what we got to prove. We got 6 reasons to get to x equals 2/3. First step, they just distributed on both sides of that equation. That's your distributive property. From line 2 to 3, all right, what's going on here? Looks like they did something with the x's, right? On the left-hand side, they just kind of combine like terms for this one. So whenever you combine, or that word that we use to replace, we call that substitution. So whenever you combine like terms or replace an expression, that's going to be our substitution property. So for number lines 2 to 3, that's your substitution property. We just combine like terms or replace the expression. All right, line 3 to 4, it looks like they subtracted the 12x over to here to get that -15x, so subtraction property. Notice my abbreviations, guys. This is substitution, this is subtraction. Line 4 to 5, they added the 14 to the right-hand side. That's addition property. And last step, they just divided both sides by -15. So that's your division property. Next page. So this time, we got to actually do the work ourselves. They don't give us the statements. We got to fill in statements, and we got to fill in the reasons here. All right. First statement is what we're given. 3x plus 1 equals -14. The first reason is always, always, always going to be given to us. Always, always, always. First step, I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. So 3x is -15. That was subtraction property. Last step, divide both sides by 3. X equals -5. That is your division property. Number 2, first statement is what we were given. 2 times x minus 9 equals -10. Reason always first is given. First step, I'm going to distribute my 2 to both pieces over here. So that gives me 2x minus 18 is negative 10. Reason, distributive property. 2 more steps. Next step, I'm going to add 18 to both sides. That gives me 2x equals 8. That was my addition property. Last step, just divide both sides by 2. X equals 4. Division property. Number 3, first statement is what we are given. Reason always given. First up, I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides. So m over negative 3 equals negative 11. That was subtraction property. Next step, I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 3. So m equals 33. That was my multiplication property. Done. Number 4, 5y minus 1 over 2 equals 7. That was given to us. First step, I'm going to multiply both sides of the equation by 2 to get rid of this division of 2. So when I do that, I'll have 5y minus 1 equals 14 multiplication. Next step, add 1 to both sides. 5y is 15. Addition property. Last step, just divide by 5. Y equals 3. Division property. Number 5. 10k minus 4 equals 2k minus 20. That is given to us. Now you've got options in the first step, guys. I can subtract 10k over here. I can add 4 over here. Or I can subtract 2k over here. Or I could add 20 over here. You have 4 options for that first step. No matter what you do, you'll still come out to get this for an answer if you do it correctly. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to subtract 2k over here. So 8k minus 4 is negative 20, and I subtracted the 2k over. Next up, I'm going to add 4 to the right. So 8k equals negative 16, and that was my addition property. Last step, just divide both sides by 8. K is negative 2. And that was division property. Number 6, 5n minus 42 equals 12n. That's given to us. First up, I'm going to subtract 5n to the right. So negative 42 equals 7n. That was subtraction property. Next up, I'm going to divide both sides by 7. Negative 6 equals n, division property. And last step, I have to flip that n equals negative 6. And when I flip it, then remember that is called your symmetric property. Number 7, negative 8 times w plus 1 equals negative 5 times w plus 10. First reason is always given. First step, distribute to both sides over there. That'll give us negative 8w minus 8 equals negative 5w minus 50. Now, once again, you have 4 options just like we had for number 5. For this guy, I am going to add 5w to the left. So that'll give me negative 3w minus 8 equals negative 50. So when I add that 5w over, that's my addition property. Next up, I'm going to add the 8 over to that negative 50. So negative 3w equals negative 42. That was addition property. Last step, divide by negative 3. W equals 14. That was my division property. Number 8. 14 minus 2 times x plus 8 is 5x minus 3x minus 34. That's given to us. First up, I'm going to distribute on both sides. So left side, I'll have 14 minus 2x minus 16. Right side, 5x minus 3x plus 34. Now, I'm going to combine like terms on both sides of this equation here. On the left side, I'm going to take the 14, add that with the negative 16. Right side, I'm going to combine the 5x with the negative 3x. Okay? Forgot to write down my distributive property. All right, combine like terms over here. 14 and negative 16 is negative 2. Bring down the negative 2x. 5x, negative 3x is 2x. Don't forget your 34. Whenever we combine like terms or replace an expression, that is substitution property. Now, this step, guys, you have 4 options just like the ones above. You can add 2 to both sides, add 2x, subtract 2x, or subtract 34. I am going to choose to add 2 to the right first. So negative 2x equals 2x plus 36. That was addition property. I'm going to subtract 2x to the left. That gives me negative 4x equals 36. So I subtracted the 2x over. Last step, divide both sides by negative 4. X is negative 9. Division property. Last page. Just kind of review, making sure you guys are familiar of when to use or what the properties look like, and we'll fill them in over here. First one, if k equals 3 and 3 equals k, remember they just flipped it, right? When we flip something, that is our letter H, symmetric property. If 2x is 14 and x is 7, what do they do from there? They just divided by 2. That is D, your division property. 4 equals 4, same on both sides. That is your reflexive property. That's letter G. Number 4, to get from this side to that side, they had to add 1 to both sides. They had to add 1 to get this guy right here. That is A, your addition property. One that we did not use today. If 10A equals 2B, 2B equals 2C, then 10A equals 2C. I'll talk more about this one in a second, guys, but if I call the 10A a 1, 2B a 2, and I call the C a 3, 10A is a 1, and C equals 3. Like, if 1 equals 2 and 2 equals 3, then I can say 1 equals 3. That's your transitive property. Don't worry about that just yet. Number 6, they just distributed to both pieces. That's your distributive property. That is letter E. Number 7, if 6y equals 24, then 6y minus 3 equals 24 minus 3. What did they do to both sides? They subtracted 3 to both sides. That is your subtraction property, letter B. Number 8. If 10x plus w equals 41 and w equals 1, then 10x plus 1 equals 41. They replaced w with 1. So when you replace something, that is our substitution property, letter F. Number 9, if they just multiplied both sides by 2, that's your multiplication property, letter C. Number 10 is that goofy one again. Call this guy a 1, a 2. If 1 equals 2 and 2 equals 3, then I can say 1 equals 3. That's your transitive property. We'll talk more about that later. Number 11, let's check it out. What are they doing to both sides? Well, they're adding 4 to both sides. That's your addition property, letter A. Number 12, they just flipped it. When I flip something, that's your symmetric property. That is H. Number 13. Well, I told you x is 5. I replaced x with 5. That is your substitution property, letter F. Number 14. If m equals 2, then 8m equals negative 16. I'll take two answers here. You can tell me multiplication or you can tell me division property here. I don't care what you do. Because if I go from this way to that way, I'm multiplying both sides by 8. If I go this way, I'm dividing both sides by 8. I will take C or D for that one. Multiplication or division. 15, same on both sides. 10y equals 10y. That is your reflexive property. We'll talk more about that one later. And last one, they just distributed to both sides, distribution property, which is letter E. That is it for your algebraic proofs.